Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters of the Week video. Well, thank you so much everyone for your continued support and patience when it comes to these videos. I promise I'm going to get back to them soon, just catching up on things from my vacation and also still having a whole lot of fun when it comes to my Mafia and Gangsters videos. But I'll definitely get back to these videos soon and create a whole new set of videos based on your suggestions and playlists. So thank you so much everyone for that. This random page entry from the cryptids.wikia.com website once again brings us to a Loch Ness type monster. So those of you that are fans of that particular type of series, when you're in luck, here's yet another entry associated with it. Interestingly enough, this has to do with yet another creature featured within the Great Lakes. I recently just talked about that in another past video, and apparently if you go there to this day, who knows, you may have a chance of seeing this very unique creature, one that has been around for a very long time. In fact, you're looking at a representation of it now. It goes by an interesting name too, a moniker of sorts. It's known as Pressie. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this lake type monster. Isn't that quite a name, Pressie? No, it automatically brings you to the other well-known cryptid or monster, in that case being Nessie. So I'm wondering if the two are essentially related to one another. But yes, as far as the information of Pressie, here you go. So apparently this is a lake type monster that is found in Lake Superior here in the United States. Lake Superior is a very large body of water. It's a very large lake. In fact, it is the world's largest, at least by surface area, and then of course it's connected in some ways at least to the other Great Lakes as well. And then also, if you wanted to go even to either further details as to its schematics, we're talking about something that is at least 350 miles long, 160 miles wide, and then at the very deepest point you have it at 1,333 feet. Very deep, in other words. So in other words, this lake would absolutely be able to house a creature of this magnitude and do it quite well. It could probably hide there for the longest time ever. More on that here in a minute. And do so without ever encountering, let's say, any other people that are out there within those lakes. So all this population, everything else that's growing within the United States, especially over the past couple hundred years, it would have easily been able to hide to it. And also, somebody else mentioned quite nicely in a comment before, that's not including all these quote-unquote isolated lakes having all these tunnels potentially underneath them, all these water tunnels that will allow it to go from one place to another as well. And then as far as its own physical characteristics, it's pretty much just your average lake type monster. So think of Nessie or think of anyone else that looks like a Loch Ness type monster, and that's what you have here. It's about 75 feet in length, although I was reading on another area that it was quoted at being over 80 feet in length. It has a horse-like head, a set of teeth that are jutting from the front area. So this is definitely like a carnivore of sorts. It's not going to be eating plants, in other words. And then it has a very long neck, and then it has its classic fins that you would normally find on lake type monsters, and then also it has a tail as well, although this tail, interestingly enough, is linked to a whale instead of, let's say, being another type of fin. So if you see something that looks like the end of a whale there at Lake Superior, then chances are you're running into Pressie as well. And then as far as its color, it looks like it has a grayish type hue associated with it, although I was reading in yet another area that it seems to be also having like a darker brown, something along those lines. This is interesting too because the way it moves reminds people of a snake. And so what I mentioned is this: people that have seen this creature swim within the waters say that it looks just like a snake would. Snakes have that darker hue as well, that darker brown or darker gray, and so it would be it would be almost invisible within the water, at least from the top side. And then the way they see it move, the only time you would rarely actually see it is because you see something undulating, is what I heard one description of a person describe it, and then also you would see it move in, again, a snake-like fashion. Makes you wonder if that fin that it has that's very, very similar to a whale, how that comes into play, because I don't think whales move along those lines, right, when it comes to being like a snake. But still, this is a one-off creature. It's definitely unique among its own. We're talking about another, Nessie or another Lake Loch Ness type monster. So here you have something like this that could have its own unique motion as well. But yes, all of those characteristics state that if you go there, again to Lake Superior, maybe hang out by the lake or camp out by the lake, if you at least see something undulating, moving in a snake-like fashion, or having a whale sighting, like a whale tail that you can see in the distance, I guess that you're going to be very close to Pressie. Now, as far as the actual sightings of the creature itself, I was hinting at this earlier, it goes back a very, very long time. So much long, in fact, that there was Native Americans there, indigenous people that knew about the history of this creature. In fact, they referred to it more along the lines of an actual serpent, and it had a distinctive name. They called it Mishipishu. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Mishipishu. And it's been depicted multiple times within several pictograms there on the shoreline. And the way it looks like is something more along the lines of a cat-like creature, or more something along the lines of a serpent. But again, it highlights just how much this creature has been in existence there within that lake. As I mentioned at the very beginning, a lake that big, that long, that wide, and then that deep, it's perfect to be able to have and house continued generations of this lake-type monster. It would definitely excel within not being visible, maybe every now and then, according to these sightings I'll go here in a minute, but still, it could stay there for that long period and then not have any issues afterward. I wanted to mention one thing else too. One other color that people associate with this creature is a deep black as well. So that also stands out with regards to its hue, with regards to its characteristics. Now, as far as the actual sightings themselves, let's go ahead and we'll talk about that here. Besides the indigenous people, again referring to Mishipishu and then seeing this creature there, some of the more recent ones, at least the earliest known documented cases, come from this. Apparently in 1897, there near Minnesota, there was a guy, unknown man, whose name was, he fell overboard on his yacht after he presumably hit a rock. However, it turns out this rock was not actually a rock that was protruding from the actual water itself, but no, it was this creature. It was Pressie, and apparently this Pressie ended up attacking him, attempted to constrict him like a snake would, but then let him go for mysterious reasons, or he was able to escape afterward. Either way, though, it gives you an idea, at least 1897, how early, at least in our history here in the U.S., after the Native Americans saw it, how early this creature has been seen. Another sighting was this, 1894. Oh, my apologies. This was actually even earlier than that. I thought this was a later year. But yeah, two steamers that were moving along those lakes saw, again, another creature undulating somewhere around the twilight evening period. They stated they saw about 6 to 8 feet of it out in the water, and then that was it. And yet in another instance, 1895, so again, even earlier than the last one, there was yet another steamer crew, this time consisting of 3 people, who observed what they called a hideous creature, and it seemed to follow their ship as well. So in other words, there it was tracking alongside them, and it almost seemed to catch up or pace alongside the speed associated with that steamer. Gives you an idea how fast this creature can go. They stated that what they saw was about a 15-foot long neck tied to this creature, but that's pretty much everything that they saw on there. And then as far as even more sightings, this time though going into the 1900s, you would have to look at 1977. There was a guy on Memorial Day weekend, the guy by the name of Randy Braun, who stated he saw this creature and he actually took a photograph of it. And in fact, when he saw it, there it was swimming around that Lake Superior. I don't know if he saw it, let's say, undulating or moving in a snake-like fashion, but he had the common sense with the camera with him to try to take a picture of this creature. But when he did so, all it was just basically just a blurry object. There really was nothing else that was tied to this creature as far as, like, let's say, a clean shot, something that showcases the creature in its full glory. But at least those are some examples from the Native Americans down to the 1800s and the 1900s. As far as that, I don't think there has been any more recent sightings though, like going into the 2000s. But who knows? Maybe we might have something else soon. And then as far as what this creature could be characterized at, is this: you're looking at a real creature known as a lake sturgeon. Apparently, these are quite large. They can go over 6 feet in length, and so some people have theorized that yes, this is actually what people are seeing. This is in this case not a lake type monster or a Loch Ness type monster, but is in fact more on the lines of this. They're just maybe seeing parts of it there on top of the water, but because of the optical illusion that water makes whenever you're looking at something from far away, it may look like it's coming from a much larger creature when it really isn't. So that may be one theory. Another one is it could be another unique form, some species of snake that hasn't been categorized yet. Again, it's a very, very big lake there, right? But that's yet another theory, that they're not seeing a cryptid, but instead an unknown snake that people are just assuming is a lake-type monster. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's all the information I could find associated with Pressie. What do you guys think about this lake monster? Yet another entry, right, within this type of series. Anyone there from the Great Lakes area? Maybe you've gone there to Lake Superior. If so, let us know if you know any more back history or stories associated with this monster, or maybe, who knows, if you happen to see something that stands out when you were there visiting at Lake Superior. I'd love to hear what your comments are too. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.